Is Telcoin ready to do a 10 to a 20x in 2022? I think so, because it is displaying a very particular chart pattern that can be explosive to the upside that we should anticipate in the second half. And I'm also going to show you some case studies where this happened before. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jiggy. I'm the award-winning author of The Extraordinary New Venture Capital Opportunity, How to Invest Like a Pro. Been featured in the best-selling book, High Probability Trading Strategies, back in 2008, where I only used to focus on currencies, but now exclusive on cryptocurrency. So let's dive straight in. So Telcoin, first of all, send money smarter. Telcoin leverages blockchain technology to provide low-cost, high-quality financial products for every mobile phone user in the world. I was having a good catch-up with one of my friends yesterday, Ingrid. He's so passionate about Telcoin. He was telling me all about the fundamentals and the really meaningful difference that they're making on all mobile users, especially for the unbanked. Very, very interesting products on a fundamental level. We're going to focus on technicals today, by the way, technicals, but also just in terms of coin market cap. Let's just get some key stats. Telcoin was actually a top 50 coin not that long ago. Currently sitting at position 140, not bad at all. Market cap just under $500 million. Daily volume is quite low at the moment, around 4 million. But what I'm going to focus on today is really the technical position, because what I've realized, I've been trading currencies for over 10 years, like it's been quite a while, and any wave in Fibonacci for the last 5 years that I've been applying it to crypto applies incredibly well. And what most people don't realize is that the markets tend to move in fives and threes, and the price action is actually representing the psychological mood of the mass herd participating, betting on the price. Crypto is in its infancy, so most of the price action is speculative, and that's actually true for most markets. So there's a particular pattern that I'm seeing over here, which is one of my favorites. It's called a wave 2 correction. We're going to go into it deeper, but before we dive into Telcoin, I want to just take a snapshot of this mentally. Take a snapshot of this, and then I'm going to show you Zilliqa. We just did a 4-part series to Zilliqa. And what we saw with Zilliqa was a very similar aggressive move to the upside, 3 moves to the downside, and an explosive move to the upside, right? And we're at the beginning of a new trend on Zilliqa. But even better than that, I did a video on Solana on, I think it was August 15th, 2021, before it took off. And very, very similar to what we're seeing with Telcoin right now from a technical standpoint. Again, we're just looking at the psychology of buying and selling. We saw this 3-wave correction with Solana, and we called it a wave 2, and we literally projected this in advance, and we said we're likely to see these new price zones being hit with Solana, and Solana not only hit those price zones, it smashed those price zones. And let me show you. And I'm showing you this because with crypto or all markets, you ideally want to be 2 steps ahead. And most people are 2 steps behind trying to chase. When you try to chase, it's very, very difficult. When you're 2 steps ahead and you can anticipate, then you've got a massive edge on the market. So with Solana, I did quite a few videos on Solana last year. And the first few was around here. I did a video here. And then we did one around here and just beyond as well. So we're just going to focus. I did 2 videos. One was here, and the other one actually was around here, give or take. But this is the low that we're focused on. But this is the pattern that I'm seeing with Telcoin. Will it play out the exact same way? We don't know, because we can only do probabilities and never certainties. But the probability is in the favor of what I'm about to show you happening again, but with Telcoin. So with Solana, look what happened. It hit these numbers, and it did a nice 5-wave structure to the upside. Really, really textbook Elliott wave. And with Telcoin, I believe we are seeing a pattern that is very similar to this down here, which we're calling a wave 2. We're going to break it down in a second. After a wave 2, typically comes a wave 3, 4, 5. And then after that, the market does tend to go through a correction. And we anticipated this again in advance. And now Solana's gone through a bigger correction. And now we're anticipating that the market will move to a whole macro cycle and repeat the whole process again, right? And that's what we want to be really, really aware of, massively aware of. So again, this is what we anticipated in advance with Solana, and then this is what happened. And that's what we want to do. If you also want to learn how to do Elliott waves and be 2 steps ahead of the market, there's 3 key rules that you need to know about Elliott waves. And I actually cover them in my masterclass. Free Elliott wave Fibonacci masterclass is in the description link below. You'll get instant access. Click on the link. It'll take you to this page. And it'll just show you how to read the markets like a pro. Click and it's video on demand, so you'll get instant access. So what we're going to focus on today is Telcoin. This is what I was telling Ingrid yesterday. He was telling me all the fundamentals, which is just a beautiful project, what they're doing, what they're working on, what they've achieved to date, some really, really powerful things. But then I put the fundamentals to the side. I go, yep, that sounds brilliant. Now I'm just going to look at the chart from a total technical standpoint as if I knew nothing. Now, first things first, we've clearly had with Telcoin since around Jan last year, and then in April we just had this incredible surge. Like, wow, that's what you call, this is panic buying, right? This is fear of missing out. This is typical FOMO. Massive news announcement. You can tell there's some type of news announcement that's driving this behavior. But the main thing that I'm seeing, is just a nice movement to the upside. So in technical terms, in Elliott wave terms, we're calling that a wave one, right? A nice move to the upside, and we're calling that a wave one. And after a wave one, ideally what I would like to see is a wave two. And the wave twos break down typically into 3 waves. And what I'm seeing here now with this chart pattern unfolding, again, is very similar to Zilliqa and very similar to what we saw with Solana down here. This 3-wave structure. We're looking for this 3-wave structure like this over here. And I'm seeing something very similar. And it looks like this. We call it an A, we call this a B, and then we call this a C of a wave 2. So this is called a macro wave count. Macro wave count. That'll make more sense in just a second. So we're going to put this into a wave 2. Put a question mark there because it hasn't been confirmed yet. What will really confirm the wave 2, the first confirmation is the price exceeding this former major swing high over here. Obviously over here as well, but this will be the first major confirmation. So it's not confirmed yet, but we're aiming to be 2 steps ahead of the market. Really, really, really important. So that's the macro wave count. Now we're going to go into the intermediate wave count. So in Elliott wave theory, when you're reading the psychological mood of the market, there's always a wave count above and there's always a wave count below. So we've got macro, now we're going to go into an intermediate wave count. Most wave 2s break down to a minimum of 3 waves. And here we can see a clear A, B, C structure. So we're just going to label that as a nice A, B, C structure. For this, we're just going to get rid of the lines just so it's a bit cleaner. And we don't need to go any more detailed than that for our purposes today. You can go to another degree of wave count because typical wave C's break down into 5 waves. If we're trading this, we'll need to go into micro detail. But for what we're looking for now, we got a nice wave count of wave 1, wave 2. And if the markets tend to move in 5s and 3s, after a wave 2, it tends to come a wave 3. And what a wave 2 really is, a wave 2 is a retest of the wave 1. It's a retest of the wave 1, also known as a correction, also known as a breather. The way I'd like you to think about this is that the market's done an incredible sprint. Like, that's explosive. That's unusual. Especially this part is almost vertical, right? In the space of, was it April 25th to May 10th? Was that a month? It just exploded. Like, it went from, what's this? 0.005. Yeah, it did like a nice 10x from here to here, just explosive to the upside. From this price movement, it would have been even higher, right? So we know this. So a wave 2 is a retest of wave 1, and often it will act as a launch pad. So once a wave 2 holds, it will act as a launch pad, and that's what we saw with Solana. And I want to make this clear. I want to use this as a reference, as a case study, because we did the video for Solana in advance. The wave 2 low acted as a launch pad for a wave 3. And then we had a nice explosive wave 3. And that's what we're anticipating with Telcoin, right? The wave 2 to act as a launch pad. So what's the typical wave 3? Well, we know it's going to exceed the wave 1, right? I'm going to go into more detail on wave 3 in a second, right? But before we do, we just want to do a few more things when it comes to, is this likely to be a wave 2 low? So now we're going to use something called Fibonacci price. Now, Fibonacci price and Fibonacci ratios, what Ralph Nelson Elliott figured out in the 1800s, 1900s, is most markets, pretty much all markets, where there's mass herd psychologies betting on the prices tend to form certain ratios. And when you know these ratios, there's typical ratios for wave 2s, the typical ratios for wave Cs, and so on and so forth. We're going to use some of this information right now. And again, if you want to learn how to do this, take my Fibonacci and Elliott Wave Masterclass. It will give you a nice reference point on how to read the market like a pro, how to be 2 steps ahead as opposed to 2 steps behind. So the first thing we're going to do is something called a Fibonacci retracement. We're just going to measure this wave 1. This is overextended. So we're going to get a typical correction that's more than the typical would be my expectation. So we're going to measure this low to this high. It's called a Fibonacci retracement. The 3 typical wave 2 ratios is 50, 62, and 78.6%. And you can see this red line, it's gone below the extreme. We want to be aware of that. But the reason why we've gone below the extreme is because this is just more, normally a market would end here and go for a correction, but this just overshot, right? Overextension. So therefore the correction will typically be bigger. But there's also a relationship between this wave A and this wave B, sorry, this wave C. And the most common is 62 to 100%. So I'm just going to draw the lines. I cover this in more detail in my Fibonacci Elliott Wave Masterclass. I'm just going to do it relatively fast for the purpose of today. And the 2 ratios that we want is really the 100% and the 62%. You see the 100% is off the charts, is it literally? So it's not really relevant. We want the 62%. So now we have this relatively narrow zone. We're going to do one more, something called a confirming ratio. Is this wave B and this wave C has a particular relationship with each other. And there's typical ratios that tend to form. And the key one, this is called an external retracement. I'm just going to measure these two. The 2 ratios is 1.272 and 1.618. And you can see it's in that range. And really that 1.272 is right over here. So what we have is a cluster that tells us this is likely to be a high probability wave 2 low. There's a few other things we could do. We could do some price analysis, time analysis. We can break down a few more bits and pieces. But this gives us a nice macro view oversight on, okay, Telcoin has been a top 50 coin. It's shown massive buying, typical profit taking, a retest, and there's a wave 2. So now what we're going to do is look into the future. What is Telcoin likely to do? Is it looking like Solana? Is it looking like some form of pattern like this? Right? And even if you just, again, take a snapshot in your mind, and then we go, well, it looks pretty similar, right? Not obviously the exact same, because it's a totally different project, totally different coins, totally different buyers and sellers, but the psychological mood is being represented in the price. So now what we're going to do is look at what is the likelihood, what price is the likely price that Telcoin will go to if it takes off. If it really takes off, where is it likely to go to before the next correction? Because markets are always expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. So the wave 3 tends to be the most explosive wave of all waves, and there's a typical ratio. It's called the golden mean. Fibonacci is, and we're going to measure wave 1. Again, I'll show you how to do this in the masterclass. And I'm just gonna make the assumption that this is the wave 2 low. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but just to give us a bit of a guideline on what's likely to occur, and a reference point, a zone, is I said to you at the beginning, 10x to 20x in 2022, and it's really based on these 2 ratios. 1.618 is the most common wave 3 ratio, and 2.618 is the overextension. Now, it doesn't mean it can't go beyond those, because anything can happen, but these are the 2 typical ranges for a wave 3. We got the 1.618, which is around 10 cents. So that's over a 10x from today's price. And then we've got 16 cents, give or take, 16 cents. And that's coming up towards, what is that? Yeah, around, is that 20x? Let's do the math. Should we do the math? Let's do the math. Today's price, so let's just do, we're going to go 0.168. 0.68 divided by today's price, 0.007. 0.007. I think that's right. Yeah, 24x. So it'll be a 24x from today's price if this is just over a 10x and this is a 24x, right? Is it going to hit it? Again, it's probabilities, never certainties. But what you want to be hyper aware of, if this next wave cycle does occur, it'll probably coincide with just the entire market doing quite well. The whole market doing really, really well. So what we want to do, so that was my alarm going off, is 6 a.m. here in the UK. So I beat the alarm clock today. All right, so this is the zone. I'm just going to do one other thing as well. What we want to be aware of is the previous behavior of wave one. How long did it take to form? It's roughly this amount of time. So we might see it explode to this quite fast. And if it does, you want to be hyper aware of it. So maybe by, we don't want to be overly aggressive, but July, August, towards the end of the year, I reckon it's not unreasonable to expect this. But again, probabilities, never certainties is really, really key. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I want to cover. There is one other thing. There is one other wave 3 confirmation indicator ratio. Most people don't know about this one. Again, it's the external retracement, but the two key ratios is actually 1.618 and 2.618 again. And again, this now forms two zones. And this is how I like to do it. I like to go, all right, this is the first zone. That is a good probability that we'll see Telcoin hit this zone. And then there's a second zone, which is up here. And what you'll find more often than not is if there's two key zones and the price shoots past this, it will tend to find the next zone, right? And we want to be really, really aware of that. So there you have it. Telcoin, it's got a very high probability over the coming 6 months. We're talking about not tomorrow. We're talking about, this year, 2022, 10 cents to 16 cents. And if it does, just have your plan ahead of time. So the pros have their plan ahead of time. So we're using a software here called TradingView, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. All of them allow you to set price alerts. So you can just add a price alert and have a note to tell you what you want to do if you're buying this already. If you're looking to get into Telcoin, have a risk management strategy. So you're managing your risk down here. So you'll have a minimum exposure, as in acceptable capital exposure is the term that I was looking for, right? And to the upside. So there you have it, Telcoin. So if you want to learn how to do this for yourself for all of your crypto portfolio, because these patterns will literally show themselves again and again and again. And 50 to 70% of the time, they're very clear. The other 30, 40, 50% of the time, they're not clear. And if it's not clear, we don't do a wave count. But here, we've got a nice 3-wave structure to the downside. That's typical of a wave 2 correction. So in the link below, you can take my free Elevated Fibonacci Masterclass. You will literally get instant access. I give some good case studies, and then how you can really just understand the macro counts, the micro counts, and the intermediate counts, and how to combine that with Fibonacci ratios. And also keep in mind that just everything is difficult before it's easy. So just one step at a time, learning the process will just allow you to see what's likely to happen, because most people overly rely on fundamentals, which are important in terms of tokenomics, the project, the team, the problem that it's solving, the uniqueness, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, the price is driven by speculation, the human emotion of fear and greed. And once you can get your head around that, all of a sudden you have a different context on the price action, and you can make decisions based on objective information and non-emotional. So there you have it. There you have it. You got Telcoin, very, very interesting project. Looks very exciting, but from a technical perspective, it'll probably get to a top 100 coin again in the very near future. So if you like today's content, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I normally read a quote from my book, but there's a quote that just rings a bell in my head. I was thinking about it earlier today. It's from a book called Black Box Thinking. Really, really powerful quote. And it is this: beneath every success is a mountain of necessary failure. Beneath every success is a mountain of necessary failure. People on this planet that exceed and achieve great heights, whatever that means, they would tend to have a mountain, like a foundation of learnings which would have come from getting it wrong, making mistakes. And that's just the whole process of learning. And when you're learning crypto, whether it's Elliott waves, whether it's DeFi, whether it's just anything in life, just always keep in mind that the big winners in the world know that there's always a good chance of them not winning. And often their success has a foundation of failure. So beneath every success is a mountain of necessary, like, it's a key ingredient. The secret to success is failure. I know it's a paradox, an oxymoron, so to speak, but beneath every success is a mountain of necessary failure, which gives you a foundation. So whatever you've achieved to date, whether you're happy with it or not, is to go, right, what learnings were there that are now giving you a baseline that gives you a foresight on what's going to happen, like in terms of Elliott waves. You'll be able to read the markets on a whole new level. So take the free masterclass, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in a future video. All right, take care.